Many thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Mommanyi. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Maresha Awiti. We start with yet another claim of a corruption scandal in the Jubilee government. And Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi is raising queries over the purchase of 38 billion shillings worth of medical equipment, which he says may be a ploy by the government to defraud Kenyans of billions of shillings. Mudavadi says the equipments are yet to reach all the counties despite remittances to private contractors by county governments. Mudavadi goes further to question the manner in which a few individuals were given the tenders directly by the government. Timothy Otieno begins our coverage tonight.
To be transmitted digitally.
The multi-billion shilling medical equipment leasing plan launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta last year to answer the country's need for accessible and affordable specialized healthcare is what Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi now says may be a scandal in the waiting. The party leader says that taxpayers have now been forced to pay up to 5 billion shillings annually for the cost of the equipment, which more than a year since being released has not reached all the 47 counties.
Is Kenya therefore paying for services properly rendered to Kenyans? Or are we paying for services not rendered to Kenyans?
In my county, as of now, we have not yet received the machines. But it is true that there is lack of qualified people to operate these machines.
Mudavadi believes the agreements to lease the equipment was meant to create a monopoly to benefit a cartel of local leaders and suppliers who are minting profits from county governments through inflated prices.
Who is Mr. Macharia of 7 Seas, an IT company who was granted sole contract to supply imaging equipment and consumables from General Electric Company of USA? Is this Macharia in any way related to the former CS for Health and now CS Transport and Infrastructure? B, who is Mrs. Matu of Angelica Company, given sole supply contract and dealership in dialysis-related equipment and consumables from Belco Company of Italy? And C, who is a Mr. Richard Ngatia of Megascope Company, with a sole contract to supply theater equipment from Mind Ray Company of China? Could this be the same Ngatia who featured prominently in the 5.3 billion shilling scandal?
Indeed, the county medical equipment's promise to take off would initially stall after governors rejected the project, accusing the national government of assuming a devolved function without necessary consultation. The launch was further delayed by 3 months after contracts for the projects between the Ministry of Health and equipment manufacturers were signed in February 2015 as the two levels of government bickered. The Amani National Congress leader now wants the government to conduct a thorough forensic audit of accounts for the leased equipments that were seemingly forced onto county governors.
Why is the pricing of imaging films and dialysis consumables from the supplier Angelica costing about 36,000 shillings and 4,500 respectively, while in the open market they should be fetching between 17,000 and 3,000 shillings respectively? This is an urgent matter that requires the government to act expeditiously on the audit.
Under the program, 2 hospitals in each county were to receive the facilities, with suppliers of the equipments listed as General Electric from the United States of America, Philips Company from Netherlands, an Italian firm Belco SRL, a steam company from India, and China's Mindre Biomedical, all amounting to 38 billion shillings. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Now, Water Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa has rubbished claims by CORD leader Raila Odinga over the construction of the Itare Dam in Nakuru County, which Raila claims will devastate the Mau water catchment area. Wamalwa, who spoke to KTN News, turned the heat on Raila, saying that he was part of a team that okayed the preliminary plans for the dam when he was Prime Minister. But even before Raila blew the whistle on the Itare Dam, the construction of the multi-billion shilling dam has been a pre-existing controversy. Our senior reporter Rita Tinina reports.
July 15th, 2015, State House, Nairobi, and President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Italian Prime Minister witnessed as Kenya signed a 34 billion shilling deal with 2 Italian banks for the construction of the Itare Dam in Kuresoi, Nakuru County. 15 months down the line, on the ground, heavy machines are turning as the Italian contractor begins the construction of the Itare Dam. The cause of the latest face-off between President Uhuru Kenyatta and CORD leader Raila Odinga.
I have serious concerns which I must express because I am a leader of the people of Kenya.
Fikira yake sasa ati akisema hivyo, wale wa Kipsigis wa Kericho wakasirike waseme hii maji yetu inapelekwa Nakuru ndio ikakunyuliwa na Wakikuyu huko. That is his thinking.
Raila claims that the dam will kill at least 5 critical rivers and turn parts of Bomet, Migori, Nyamira, Kisumu and Kericho into near deserts. The government has dismissed Raila's claims, saying he knew and gave the go-ahead for the project when he was the Prime Minister.
Just like the Itare project was part of the Vision 2030 project, and it was actually prioritized, authorized and launched by the former government where he was Prime Minister. And it was launched by none other than Raila Amolo Odinga himself.
According to the Rift Valley Water Services Board, the dam is the most viable long-term solution to the water problem in Nakuru, Kuresoi, Molo, Njoro and Rongai areas. The 57-meter-high dam will have a capacity of producing 100,000 cubic meters of water a day and will have 3 tributaries, Sondu, Ndoinet and Songoi rivers. But even before the Itare Dam matters hit the national scene, on the ground, controversy has been brewing for a while, with locals divided over the construction of the dam.
Hawa tunatumia tu kitu ya kusema ati tutalipa nyinyi na sijui ni ngapi talipa ngapi. Na ni siku gani atalipa sisi. Sisi tunahangaika mpaka juzi hii masini dogo hii akaingia. Akuja kurarua mahindi yetu hapa, kurarua mahindi.
Serikali kwa kuanzisha hii miradi kwa sababu sisi vijana tutakuwa tumepata kazi na tutapata maji mazuri. Hatutumii tena ile haijaoshwa.
The dam will source water from rivers in the Lake Victoria catchment and the Lake Nakuru basin, which is fed by rivers from the Mau catchment area. Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto and his Kericho counterpart Paul Chepkwony have raised opposition to the multi-billion shilling project, which Kipsigis elders are fighting through the courts. In their August 23rd application before the High Court in Nakuru, the elders claim, among other things, that the project was initiated without proper public participation, that rivers flowing through the western part of the Mau, including Chemosit, Ndoinet, and Kipsonoi, will dry up, and that areas such as Kericho, Kisumu, Nyamira, and Migori would become arid and semi-arid. The Itare Dam has revived discourse over the Mau complex, the country's largest water tower, and Raila is once again at the center of it. As Prime Minister in 2009, Raila signed a 38 billion shilling deal with Rift Valley MPs for compensation of settlers in the Mau as the government moved to save the Mau. Now, with the Itare Dam controversy once again roping in the survival of the Mau, the stakes may be higher, and the controversy of another of the government's treasured water projects may turn into an environment versus political issue as the country heads into an election year. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Still on the Itare Dam, and Deputy President William Ruto is accusing opposition leader Raila Odinga of using unconventional ways in carrying out his election campaigns. Ruto says Raila's opposition to the construction of the Itare Dam is uncalled for and accused him of being insincere. Accompanied by other leaders on a tour of Nyeri County, the Deputy President said that the Jubilee government will not be distracted by opposition criticism, which he says are meant to derail the government's development agenda.
Jana nilisikia wamekimbia huko Nakuru, wanasema maji isitolewe kule Kuresoi, ipelekwe Nakuru, na hata hii ya Kieni wako njiani.
Tukipatia Nakuru maji kutoka Kuresoi, anasema kuna ufisadi. Mutasikia akisema sababu tuna mradi hapa Kieni, atakuja kukuwa na press conference. Hataki Wakenya wapate maji, wapate afya bora, watoto wetu wapate computers, hawataki Wakenya wajengewe barabara.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga says he will not be stopped from condemning the corrupt cartels in the Jubilee government. Raila, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and Nandi Hills MP Alfred Keter say there was a need to address runaway corruption in Kenya. Speaking at a funeral of former KANU leader Sarah Chemutai Saina, a close friend of retired President Daniel Moi, Raila now says that he will shift the focus to politics of environmental protection, adding that the country cannot be turned into a desert.
Ni Yesu Kristo. Kwa ambaye Shetani kuna kanisa ingine. Hiyo haihusii kwa neno la Mungu.
Karibuni Nandi. Kuna wengine ambao wanachimba mabwawa na kuchukua maji kutoka hapa kupeleka ng'ambo nyingine. Hiyo ndio siku hizi mimi napinga. Ati tuhifadhi mazingira yetu, maana yake tusipohifadhi nchi yetu tutakuwa kama jangwa. Sawa, hiyo ni ukweli, haiozi. Nasema Kenya imechafuka kwa mambo ya ufisadi. Hiyo ni ukweli kama ile ya Galileo.
Effort to fight this vice, because if we do not, it's going to eat the very basic social fabric of society.
Wakati nilisema NYS kuna uwizi mwaka wa 2014 2015, wengi walisema Keter ati ametumwa na watu wa kuharibu serikali. Lakini mliona juzi watu wakitangaza hadharani wakisema waliweka.
Now, Chairman of Senate Committee on Energy, Gideon Moi, says that government is seeking to amend the energy bill that guides fair distribution of benefits accrued from exploration of oil resources. Moi says Senate will not agree to this, which he added that goes against the wishes of majority of Kenyans. Moi, who is also the Baringo senator, says the president should maintain the bill as it currently is constituted.
Senate passed was that there should be a 70-30 division, but the government had decided to reduce the 30% which was going to go to the Wananchi through the county government to 25%, especially touching on the community, which has been reduced from 10% to 5%, and we are pleading that it should remain the same, because this money is going to the machine, it's going down to the people. And we'd like it to remain there because we know that it will be more effective down at the county level, down at the community level, than it will be at the national level. So that's my plea to my colleagues.
Now, Kenya continues to export skills abroad, and the hotel industry remains one of the most marketable areas for those seeking greener pastures in the diaspora. On Daring Abroad tonight, we feature yet another Kenyan in the hotel industry in West Africa, Victor Muthama, who is the food and beverage manager at a 4-star hotel in Accra. Take a look.
Function is coming. He has to make sure all goes well in a wedding reception for 500 people.
We have 12 conference rooms. We normally do wedding receptions, dinners for corporates.
Victor is one of the daring Kenyan hoteliers in West Africa. He is now on his 4th year at the Swiss International Hotels and Resorts in Accra.
I'm in charge of food and beverage operation. That is taking care of conference, restaurants and the bars in the hotel. And also overlooking the kitchen, that is the production in the kitchen.
Victor is among the 3 Kenyan members of staff at this hotel. His 2 fellow Kenyans being the general manager he reports to, Yusuf Olela, and Livingstone Asikoe, the chef we featured earlier in this series about Kenyans living abroad. Livingstone reports to Victor.
I was the first one to come in Accra, Ghana. I've been here for 3 years. This is my 4th year. So then after Yusuf joined me, then Livingstone also joined me.
As far as international exposure is concerned, Victor looked east first.
I joined the hospitality industry 16 years ago, where I started my career in Kenya. Then I moved, I joined one of the big chain of hotels, Hyatt Hotels in Dubai, where I worked with the Grand Hyatt Dubai. Then after I joined Intercontinental Hotels Group in Middle East. And after I came back to Africa, here I am now.
And it is never the same when one moves from one region to another, according to Victor.
Every country has different challenges and different culture, so you learn based on each country. For example, you compare Ghana and Kenya. The hospitality in Kenya and Ghana is totally different. The difference between Kenya and Ghana in hospitality, Kenya they are far ahead on hospitality compared to Ghana. How the staff they deliver to you when you're in Kenya is totally different. How you expect them to deliver from here. Ghanaian, they are somehow laid back, but they are friendly people.
Victor says that Kenyans in the hospitality industry in the diaspora are respected and are contributing a great deal to Kenya's brand.
There is a lot of opportunity in the hospitality industry in West Africa based on how Kenyans hospitality industry in Kenya is. Many people prefer to employ Kenyans when it comes to the hospitality.
However, those opportunities are mainly at the managerial level.
East or West, home is the best. So one day I'll have to go back to my country. I'll say I'll be taking also an experience because at the moment I'm working with international chain of hotels. So I'll still have an experience which I can be able to take it to Kenya.
And that's daring abroad.
And Katui Muya are the winners of the Nairobi County cross-country competition that took place in Nairobi's Posta grounds. Obiri clocked a time of 34 minutes, 3.9 seconds, while Muya recorded a time of 30 minutes, 24.9 seconds. The competition was the first in the Athletics Kenya cross-country series, which also witnessed relays as part of the competition.
Posta Grounds in Nairobi played host to the first event of Athletics Kenya Cross Country Series, an event which also saw relays take part in cross country for the first time. In the men's race, the battle was intense as more than 100 men lined up battling for top honors. The battle was however between junior champion Andrew Lorot, Stephen Arita and Katui Muya. With a kilometer to go, Lorot, who is set to sit for his KCSE exams on Monday, broke away from the leading pack, but he could not hold on to it as Muya took over to win the race in a time of 30 minutes, 24.9 seconds. Lorot finished in the second place ahead of Stephen Arika.
Unajua niko na hiyo experience ya kukimbia cross country. Nilikuwa wakati alipita, nilijua mimi nitashinda tu. Kwa sababu speed yake nimeangalia nikajua atafika mahali mchukulia hapo.
Ambia leo nimefurahia kabisa ambapo niliamka asubuhi nikaamka kuwa ndaenda kuwin. Lakini vile vile sikuweza. Juu nilianza kufungua mapema. The last lap 500 nika lost. But penye niko I'll keep it up.
Mfunguko ni wa kwanza kuweza kupita hapa mbele. Naona Nzisa yuko hapa.
In the ladies' race, Olympics 5,000-meter silver medalist Ellen Obiri was unmatched as she cruised to victory in 34 minutes, 3.9 seconds. Obiri's competition came from Sheila Chepkurui, Nancy Nziza and Veronica Nyaruai. With 2 kilometers to go in the race, Obiri left her opponents watching as she raced to victory. African silver medalist Sheila Chepkurui finished second, while Nancy Nziza was third.
Ukiangalia ijakuwa rais vile tuko na Africa champion ya Shira Chepngetich na najua ako sawa kwa cross country. I'm not siko sawa kabisa kwa cross country, nilikuja kujaribu at least nione mwili.
The focus of the county in crisis and the prolonged drought experienced in different parts of the country due to rain shortfall has had far-reaching consequences to both humans and animals. One county that has been hardest hit is Garissa. Pastoralists have abandoned their manyatas and migrated near water sources, with this causing yet another conflict. Domesticated animals, wild animals and human beings are fighting for the little water available in dams. Stanley Mbishu has just returned from Garissa and paints us a picture of the reality in the county. I leave you with that story. Have a good night.
The sun sets in the almost bare land of Garissa County. The temperatures, even in the evening, is unimaginable. And every living thing on land can barely withstand the scorching heat. There is barely a sign of life here, only abandoned shunts of manyatas. A few months ago, families that resided here that are primarily pastoralists were busy attending to their herds of cattle and goats. For now, that remains just good old memories. 100 kilometers and through a tough terrain, pastoralists are in search of water for their cattle. Water scarcity is the reason residents of this area are migrating from their manyatas. And it's not just domestic animals that are affected. Wild animals from bony forests are migrating too. These images captured express a complete paradox of nature. Animals seeking refuge to quench their thirst. In Ijara sub-county, some animals have extended their limit. Members of an extended family mourn the loss of their own. 25 years old Yusuf Abdi Ibrahim. He met his demise as he took a herd of cattle out in search for water at a nearby water pond in Warabesa. A buffalo charged him, leaving him fatally injured. Yusuf's mother, unable to express herself after losing her child to the unending human-wildlife conflict experienced here, fear for worse if nothing is done to keep the animals away.
Kisa kama hii hutokea mara nyingi. Wengine huwa wanapata jeraha na wengine hata wanakufa. Kwa yale yanayokumbuka mimi najua kama karibu watu 4 watu 5 walikosa maisha yao kwa sababu ya nyati. Sio kwa kiangazi huu peke yake, lakini hata za mbele. Kule msituni nyasi imeisha, maji zimeisha. Wanyama pori kama nyati wakalazimika kutoka msituni kuja kutafuta maji kwenye mahali watu wanapata maji. Utapata kina mama mjamzito wameenda kutembea karibu kilomita 9 kutafuta maji. Wakati huu tunaongea kuna shida ya maji kabisa. Ni kuongojea utabuza upate ukosi.
Resources here are scarce for sharing with wildlife. Water containers left by the roadside in anticipation of a water truck that comes by once every week. Unfortunately, it is broken down on the way to fetch water 70 kilometers from here. As the only water truck serving the communities and the schools around, there is an impending threat of another week delay.
And if you ask the locals, they will tell you the schools was open for the first 1 month and then it closed. The hospital, the health center is the same. So essential amenities, essential facilities like health center and schools long time closed because of lack of water.
Most parents are moving out of the villages due to lack of water from the dams. And due to that, most of the boys who are sitting for the KCP, KCSE are also moving out with their parents. And for those who are remaining in school, there is lack of water.
This is Warabesa village in Ijara constituency. Women, men and children prepare themselves to dismantle these manyatas in readiness to move to other areas where there are greener pastures and water. They bank their hopes in this, but their chances are at bare minimum. Hungry birds scavenge on the little flesh left on the seemingly weeks-old carcasses. On-looking zebras from afar are waiting for us to leave so that they can quench their thirst. But brave monkeys leave nothing to chance as warthogs seek refuge in the villages for fear of hungry hyenas in the bushes.
You see, in the constituency, there is KWS, and it is them to give our reports on, the occurrence of human-wildlife conflicts and the level it has reached. I am sure if they will have reported, this thing will not have happened. And it's not only here, everywhere in this constituency, from Hulugo to the far end of Kotile up to Ishakbini, every water ponds that are left to give water to these residents, there is these cases of animals and dying inside the water, animals killing the human beings. And I can remember about 3-4 people were killed by buffalo, and it's a fact. It is a matter of when and not if that disease will spread it. As you can see here, and the water is, we cannot call it water. The buffalo died inside. It is decaying, and it's dangerous for people living around to take it. And unfortunately, they are taking it because there's no other source of water. This is the only source of water they have.
Many young children spend the better part of their day in search for water, time that will probably be spent in school.
The drought has affected the greatest part of this sub-county, affecting around 66,000 people in Ijara constituency as a whole.
It has not rained in these parts of Garissa in over 2 years now. On this particular day, the clouds above promise a heavy downpour.
So far, out of around 6 dams, only two dams has some little water, and that is the only dam where wild animals, human beings, and domestic animals are feeding from the same dam. And the dam is quickly getting down because of the numerous users.
We are meant to understand that most of the locals from the neighboring Somalia cross over through a vetting process with the local authorities here in Kenya so that they can also access some of the little water that is here for sharing. As our journey comes to an end back to Nairobi, Devolution CS Mwangi Kiunjuri with other government officials are giving relief food to hunger victims at Mulunguni in Magarini sub-county.
Jambo la kwanza ya serikali, kazi yake ni to protect the rights of its people. Kuhakikisha maisha ya wananchi wake haijatishwa hata kidogo. Hata insecurity na maneno ya njaa. Na ndio nimefika hapa siku ya leo, ili tuangalie hakuna Mkenya hata moja atalala njaa. Na nimetumwa na rais mwenyewe.
The importance as at now, it's not how much, but few, the small budget you give, are you really taking to the needy people in Warabesa and Ijara constituency for that matter? That is the important question.
Hakuna mwananchi, na tusikize hapa, si atakufa kwa njaa, hakuna mwananchi atalala njaa.
It is a situation that faces the country every so often, with concerned departments like special projects only appearing to be firefighting once a disaster occurs. Stanley Mbichu, KTN News,